It's that time of year again. Time to sign up for the Disc Jockey News 12 Days of Christmas giveaway. This year we have 12 days packed full of amazing prizes you can win. On the first day, you can win 5 specialty video downloads worth $125 from promo only. On day 2, someone is going to win a full show pass for Mobile Beat Las Vegas 2017. Up for grabs on day 3 is 3 months of digital downloads from Top Hits U.S.A. On day 4, you can win a Swarm 5 FX from U.S.A. DJ. Multiple winners on night 5 means you can win either a Weather System EXA from Blizzard Lighting or one of 4 copies of Dex 3 software from PC DJ. On night 6, we're giving away a Stinger Star from ADJ. You can make your own Christmas star if you win the prize on night 7, an Uno Laser Legacy GBC from Pro X. On the 8th day, you can win 1 year of digital downloads from Prime Cuts. Up for grabs on the 9th day is an iPad mini brought to you by DJ Event Planner. On the 10th day, you have a chance to win a Newmark NV2 DJ controller. Win on the 11th day and you can be playing your holiday music from a set of EKX 12-piece speakers from EV. And finally, on the 12th day, JBL is offering up a shiny new pair of PRX 815W speakers. Bonus prize, all the winners from each night will also receive their own pair of gig gloves. You even have a chance to snag up some official Disc Jockey News gear just by joining our chat room on each night's live show. To sign up, stop by discjockeynews.com/12 days of Christmas. No purchase is necessary and all prizes will be delivered by Christmas. Best of luck, everyone.
All right, we're back for the second show tonight. In our second show, we're going to be doing something we haven't done in a long time, which is not have a Zoom chat going. We're not interviewing someone from way over there or way over there. I'm interviewing someone from right here. For those of you who do not know, this is my wife, Lori. Lori has been with me. We've been married for like a long time. Wait, I have the date on my brain. See, she was a very thoughtful woman. When we were married, she had our wedding date put on my ring, so I would always have it close.
No excuses for missing our anniversary.
Yes, exactly. 23 years and some months. So
yes.
We've been together for a long, long time. And tonight we're going to get a chance to, this will be her first time. She's been on video before on some of our different channels and even some of the Disc Jockey News. She's done some video work for us at some of the shows and such where she's been behind the scenes. I don't think you've been in front of a camera, have you?
No, so this is out of my comfort zone a little bit, but
you'll be fine. This is going to be good. So there'll be some times you guys want to put some questions. We blew it all up on the screen because now we only have 2 windows open instead of the typical 17 that I have to have when we're capturing. So we've got you the chat if you guys have any questions and such. And Tim actually showed me a little trick how to make this thing go psh. It's like, ooh, this is pretty cool. So you listen to the YouTube guys; they know what they're talking about. So what I wanted to kind of talk about is a lot of people, they ask a little bit about, the history, and they kind of want to know, where we've come from. And you were actually DJing at one point in time before you became a non-DJ support staff, we'll call it, for lack of a better way to describe it. When did I basically say, hon, we could make more money by sending you out?
Well, I was thinking about it, and it's kind of interesting because our 10-year-old daughter, before I came out, I had a pre-interview actually before this because she's like, Mom, I didn't know you were a DJ. I didn't know you did weddings. And then she was like, did you actually DJ together with Dad, or how did that work? And it's like, well, John and I actually started dating in 1988, somewhere in there. And shortly after that, John and his friends started a DJ business. And I've been always the roadie, the carrying in the cargo and plugging equipment in. And so once the show would start, I would be just sitting off to the side for 4 hours until it was over with and it was time to pack up and go. So basically I was the rah-rah woman on the side and again, support. But then I think it was in the early 90s at some point that, yes, John had decided, and actually when he and his partner broke off and they split different directions because he was down in the metro area and he didn't like coming up all the time, and John was actively booking shows, and his DJ partner's like, Lori knows this stuff inside out. She should be able to go out and you guys can make twice the amount of money. And of course, we had a high demand for DJs and a lot of calls. So, of course, that took me out of my comfort zone of just sitting in the little corner to actually being on the microphone and being in front of people. So, and that's what started it.
So that would have been, probably like 92, I'm guessing.
It could have been, yeah.
Somewhere in that ballpark, I think, 92, maybe 93, in that time frame. So you went from, being with and such and doing these things, and all of a sudden you're thrown into the wedding world. Yes. And of course, back then there weren't things like Mike Walter and his training program or Randy Bartlett's training program. Basically, it was learned, and many of you know, Reggie and Brian and Art. We learned from the School of Hard Knocks when it came to this, and I'd like to say that I had prepared her for this world of weddings more than I did. Besides, hey, you saw me do it once, now you go do it. Yeah, I think it was kind of that way.
Yes.
So thinking back to some of those early events and such, kind of talk about that a little bit of what you were feeling when you went out there for the first time.
Well, my actual first wedding I went and did, my first solo gig, I wanted to make sure I went plenty early, so I had plenty of time to set things up, because of course when I'm under a lot of the stress with being pushed for time, the first thing I do is panic, and then of course I have short circuits going on in my brain and things don't function right. So of course, in order to prevent that, obviously showing up early, getting things set up ahead of time, making sure sound check, everything was all good, I was good to go. There was no problem with that. My first wedding, John had actually talked my brother into going to be more of a moral support person. We ended up going early. He's like, "Why are you going out so early?" And so we got to the reception hall. Now, this was back in the days when, before the Mark Farrell and all the education that we got when we started going to the conventions, but it used to be a 4-hour show. So a lot of times the couple would want you from 8 until midnight, or the crazy 9 to 1s, but it was always a 4-hour show. So we would come in there an hour and a half or so before the show were to start and get things set up so we're ready to go. And because I was there so early, I showed up and the guests were all outside and they were way ahead of schedule. The meal was over with long before I got there. And so we started bringing in the equipment and getting things hooked up. And I think it was hooking the speakers up when the bride and groom came up and they're like, "Can we start early?" And I'm like, I looked at my watch and I'm like, oh, yeah. I mean, I think I was set up, but we were ready to start at 10 to 7. And of course, back in those days, of course, you either had the chance of being done an hour earlier, or it was a way to get an hour overtime. So it was kind of one of those things that if you get the party going right away and people are rocking at the end, that it led to overtime. And so, of course, I got everything all set up. And of course, then the whole time and the brain fart started. And I'm like, the first song they wanted was Unchained Melody. And I, for the life of me, now this is back in the days of the CDs, and I think I started out with mini cassettes.
Mini
discs. Mini
disc, yep. We had a mini disc player for you. I mean, they were completely legal copies of the mini disc. Yeah.
Well, the problem that we had is we had a lot of CDs that we had bought in our collection that we couldn't find them anymore because you were buying CDs for one hit. And it was way before the RPM and promo only came out, which were huge lifesavers because you weren't carrying all these CDs for one song. Most of those were all on the same disc, so that really helped a lot. But I could not, for the life of me, remember the Righteous Brothers.
Oh, no.
So I was kind of panicking, and I told my brother, it's like, okay, here's the deal. I know what the album looks like. Just go through my CDs and try to find them. And I, of course, went to go talk to the bride and groom, and he came, when I came back up on stage, he's like, "Is this the CD you're looking for?" And I'm like, "Oh, thank you." And then, of course, we got the show going, and it was perfect. Everything went very smoothly after that. So, but that was my first crazy. The moment started off right from the start with that.
No, man, yeah, the first times, and all of a sudden you're like, ah. Yeah, as Reggie mentions, brain fart. Yes, that is a Midwest thing. That's something we do and do on a regular basis.
Now we just write it off as old age, but
yeah, exactly.
Back then is like, oh, panic attack, and it's like but I actually had one other wedding that I had to do where it was a venue that they wanted the ceremony, the dinner, and everything was on site. And there too, I went plenty early, had plenty of time to set up, and I get there, and the manager was not there to unlock the building until an hour before the ceremony. And of course, the wedding party was all standing outside when I got there, and if there was ever a moment that I thought that there was no way I could get everything all set up, it was that night or that afternoon, because I think she opened the door at 1, ceremony started at 2, and I had 3 areas I had to set up sound, and it was just...
Because you had the ceremony that night, and then they had dinner in a different room. And they had the dance in a different room.
Yes. And actually, the ceremony was outside, so I had to set up a sound system for outside. As soon as you came indoors was the actual dance area. And then you had to go into some rooms off to the side was where they had the dinner music. And of course, we had figured out, once I had some of the sound set up for the dinner music, and then when the ceremony was over with, I could take speakers, run and go hook that up, and I was ready to go. But that day I think was probably one of my most freaking out times, because I was setting up the dance part, and I'm like, I can't do it. I can't get this all set up because I'm running out of time, and it wasn't my fault. It wasn't, anybody but the manager, who was very adamant that she would not be there until an hour before. So that was kind of a hard panic time at that time. So
I should have had you come in last night when Arnaldo and I were talking about difficult events and difficult venues. You could have shared the story, and you and Arnaldo could have ranted for a little while on managers who are a pain in the...
Yes. Yes.
Well, that would be an experience to have a show with Arnaldo. That would have been fun for you. So as you went through, I mean, there's got to be some highlights with your time of doing weddings and things a moment that you look back and it's like, wow, that was a lot of fun. Is there anything that stands out from?
I had a lot of. I enjoyed DJing, and some of the weddings that took place on farms. I think there was one night I went 3 hours overtime. They had karaoke and everything there, and it was to the point where this farm place was out in the middle of nowhere. And on the way there, I didn't have a problem finding the spot because they had balloons and everything marked, following how to get there, all these different gravel roads and turns to take. But when I left at, I think it was 3 in the morning, at some point they took all those signs down. And this was now like, gotta back up. This is in the 90s. There's no GPS. And I'm like, okay,
well, there might have been, but your husband was too cheap to buy that.
And of course, all these little gravel roads are not on the maps. So it was kind of it's like, well, I'm going to take this road and see where it goes. And I'll take this road. And eventually you'll end up in a town. And then you'll look at the map and say, oh my gosh. And then, a few hours later, you end up coming home. So.
Oh, yeah. Out in the middle of, where are you? I'm over there. Yeah, been there, done that. Going out the wrong side of town. Yeah, the 1-ton tow strap. That's right. Actually, Lori had to go get my 1-ton tow vehicle. She had to go get that fixed today because the batteries finally died on it. So yes, I can now pull people out of the way. That was part of our talk last night. As somebody who parked in the way, Arnaldo was like, just hook onto him and pull him out. And so we started talking about tow strap last night. So.
That was because of the school bus, when we have substitute bus drivers and they don't come into our yard far enough, and then they back up and they're stuck in the snowbank.
Yeah, that's what I was telling everyone. I've never pulled a vehicle out. There's the temptation. Arnaldo is the person who would do it because he's just a little more edgier than. But yes, we pulled the bus out with the strap that we were talking about last night.
I also remember some of the events showing up with you get to a venue and you have. I knew it was a wedding party person of one of the groomsmen, I thought. And I get there, and he's hunched over this huge garbage can. And of course, I don't think nothing of it. I think it's just a young junior high attendant that got himself into alcohol. And as I'm ready to start the dance, and I'm asking where the bride and groom are to get the first dance going, I find out that it was the groom that was so intoxicated that the parents actually took him home, trying to sober him up to get him back so he could actually be somewhat respectable at his dance. But it's amazing on some of the different things, and as we've gone and changed our show, is that the 19-year-olds aren't quite getting married anymore like they were in the older.
We're not involved with those events. But then now you had a wedding in which weren't the bride and groom both so intoxicated that they couldn't even start the dance, and she couldn't, or how?
The one in particular was where the bride, now this was her second time of being married, And I felt really sorry for the groom because they were, I would say, in their 30s, maybe early 40s, because her daughter was actually the flower girl in their wedding. But in between the dance and from the dinner time and the dance, they took her out, got her schnockered. And
Schnockered is a Midwest thing also.
Sorry, intoxicated. So anyways, she ended up showing up a half hour before the show was completely over with. And she was really embarrassed. And but we started the dance. We skipped over obviously the first dance as husband and wife, but we did the mother-son dance. I had people coming up still wanting to do the dollar dance and such. And we just went with it. He's like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "You got a lot of guests here that really want to dance with you." And I think actually they were maybe more supportive even just because of the fact that they felt sorry for him, that his bride was no longer even in the picture. And so then when she actually showed up, she was embarrassed, but she was there for the last dance. So then I wedding song as their.
Oh, you smell like vomit.
Yes, I do know. I was pregnant with my
child
last month that I system on other DJs but actually because at way home I was talking cold weather and the amount of drunk drivers I was dealing with on the way home. And that night in particular, I think I was almost taken out twice. And I told John that you couldn't charge enough to get me to go DJ on New Year's Eve, because to put a dollar value on my life now being a mom, it just wasn't going to happen. So I told him at that point I was done. New Year's Eve is off the hook for me. So
yeah, we must okay, yeah, just to if you guys are, if you're hearing this, then it's obviously working, so you're refreshed, because I think there's a lot of then they probably don't even realize. You were
correct. Was this any and July that would, but they and over because it's my way home from show.
Yeah.
Well, working in that he was working. I'm like, did I? Some hearing the officers like.
Not sure why, gang. And we'll have the whole thing, because that's the thing I could still get you to go do up to a couple of years ago is doing teen dances. And
actually I still get out to do high school dances off and on, and I enjoy them because of the fact that they're short. They're usually 3 hours long. There's not a whole lot of prep that goes into it. So when you have a family and you got homework and juggling kids all different directions, the high schools work pretty well with that. And I found that we had some of our staff DJs that just refused to do high school dances, and a lot of it is because they're like, the kids are just so rude, and of course it caused issues right away. And I have always treated the kids with respect. I treat them just like they were 20 and 30-year-olds, and they come up and they ask for requests. If I have something, great. If I don't, I apologize, and I've always treated them with respect. And with going through a long stretch of not doing much for DJ shows, and I've gone out and I'm thrown into the realm of things, I didn't keep up with the music as well as what I should have. And so when I have kids coming up and asking me for these different songs and the spellings of the groups and things, there's so many variations. And a lot of times also with high school dances, you can use the excuse that you can't hear them. So you're like, what did you say? And it's like, you have no idea what the song is. So it's like, you know what? And here's the nice thing with the laptop is that, you know what? Can you just type it in? So I'll do the search and they'll type it in, and it's like, cool. And I'll add it to my list, and I'm like, great, perfect. And then it gives me time to screen it to see if it's something I even want to play at a school dance, because it might just keep shifting down to the bottom of the list all night if it's kind of a crappy song. But unless, of course, I get numerous requests, and then it's like, but it's just, So high school dances are actually I think kind of easy. The only thing now that's probably keeping me from DJing is when John keeps changing and upgrading gear on me. When I assisted with him at the last wedding because of his eyesight, and I'm looking, and John's like, I can't find the button, and he's trying to look, and it's like, I couldn't DJ if I wanted to take over because you're running a program I've never run before, and it was I'm like, oh my gosh. I've been telling him I kind of miss the CD days because of the fact that you had the 2 disc players. You didn't have to worry about the computer freezing up. Yeah, the CD tray or whatever but you would kind of get through that. But and I miss thumbing through the CDs because there's times that you forget about some really good songs by doing the computer stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why one of the reasons why the software we were using is like, it's like CDs again. So for those of you who are wondering, she was using Megaseg,
Yes.
but she spent most of her time on the CDs, much more hours on the CD systems. So the virtual DJ she saw the other day was, that's a little intimidating for her.
Although it looked really cool. And I think that obviously with some prep and some teaching, it would probably go really well.
Yeah, and it's really, really cool because it's like the CD where you can actually, I can control the left one and I can control the right one. It's really quite cool. We're just going to have to start over here. Kicks 92. You are drawn in the random drawing here for a subscription to the Disc Jockey News. And let's see, we'll go, and who's there? And Mr. Lalem. Brian Lalem, you are also, I'm not sure, Brian, if you are current, and we'll talk about that. You guys message me on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/JohnYoungMN. And Kicks92 and Brian, you can just message me, and we'll make sure you guys are set up here for our winners here of our Disc Jockey News subscription. But it was kind of cool having you with, because it was neat to have a second person. As someone who has been DJing by myself now for quite a number of years, it is neat to have that second person because the bounce idea is off, and because I couldn't see very well, it was like, okay, can you go check and watch that so I can hit the cue of the music at the proper time, or turn a mic on, what have you. Very, very beneficial and such. The
eyesight, how much you take it for granted. It's just it's been an interesting ordeal with that. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of through the DJ side. Let's kind of talk now. We mentioned in this talking about things we learned at our first DJ conventions. Remember when we went down to Vegas for the first time? So before we went down, if you can remember our thoughts were and such before we went down, kind of explain that to the crowd. Pretty much, we just played music, announced the special dances. The lighting show was fairly important, and just kind of doing the music that you're supposed to do. And then, of course, I think, was it the first time that we went that Mark Farrell had talked about that you're worth more than a veggie tray?
Yeah, that was one of our first
one of the earlier ones. I know that, and of course that really hit home. And we had some of our DJ staff actually with us when they heard that message. And the first thing that they did is, we need to raise the rates, because they we're worth more than a veggie tray, where people are wanting to spend $1,000 for a veggie tray, but yet they don't want to spend $300-400 for a DJ that's got to keep everyone there all night. So that was kind of a nice eye opener, actually, that where we value ourselves as a DJ, and it's just kind of neat with that. The few things with the convention is, I would just highly recommend, when you go to the conventions, they're wonderful. They're a great asset with helping your business grow. Sitting in on some of the seminars, learning the different tricks of the trade. I highly recommend. They usually do these dance club things, and where some of the people get up on stage and actually teach some of the new dances. And the nice thing with Las Vegas is that a lot of the songs were introduced there before they actually came to Minnesota. So that was really nice. Say you went down there and they taught the cha-cha slide. I'm probably dating myself here a little bit. But they taught the cha-cha slide. And I highly recommend DJs when you go, don't just stand off to the side and watch. You really need to get involved. You need to be going through the motions with when they're teaching these dances. It helps you learn them, and I think also showing them, teaching the audience how to do some of the things is really important, and it gets people involved. They like to be involved.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And there's so many things that they there's the interactive seminars where they're teaching games and they're teaching that. Even the games, it's you can sit back there and watch other people do it, but sometimes when you're in it, you're learning it, and you're going to learn how to present it in a different way, because it's like, wait, I didn't understand that, how he just explained that, but I see now how it goes, so I would have explained it this way. And if you were sitting back there watching, in other words, get involved.
And it kind of ties in with the Randy Bartlett, the 1% solution, because to, how can I improve 1%? And if it's teaching a dance, obviously you're going to go out and try to teach it the one time, and it might not go according to how you thought it was because of the people, or you're not giving the instructions clear enough, or it's like, I gotta reevaluate that and come up with a different way of how to present something like that. But it's really neat to really get into more of the group versus being isolated, that you're the DJ, you're the music, and versus the rest of the crowd, the audience.
So what was your take of because the DJs that were in those early, the room crowd, what have you, they were different then than they are now.
I haven't been there for a while.
You haven't been there for a while, but even in the last time you were down there, it's different. Kind of explain what some of the people were like that you were seeing in the hallway. And the way I want you to look at this is you've got a pretty good intuition about people when you look at them, and you're going to see you see things and pick up some things. Describe some of the characters and how how they were acting compared to like what our Minnesota conventions when people were coming in. There's a completely different world from then, and the attitude of some of the people.
Back in the earlier days, though, it seemed like obviously Vegas is always that party atmosphere. And even when you're going to the seminars and they've been out late partying all night, some of them may or may not have even gone to bed. They just show up and they're kind of still half intoxicated, but they're there, and it just seemed like it was just upbeat all the time. That it was really easy to get to know DJs from across the U.S. and wherever they came from. They were very open and sharing, and it seemed like years ago that a lot of times they would bring their whole staff. Mm-hmm. We've seen a lot of that where find out that there's a DJ company just down the road from us, and they brought 5-6 of their DJs, and it's a great networking spot because of the fact that there's people, and then when you actually get to meet them and socialize with them, and you find out how they are as a person, because to refer brides onto people, you kind of want to know them a little bit than to just send it off, because it still represents your company when you refer someone over to a different business. And that was kind of neat. I
think one of the things that probably struck me in those early conventions was, and we all have egos. There's ego involved with this, and you get down there and you see that our ego, even though we have it, is so much, and there's some really big personalities and really big egos, bigger than life type. Whether they actually are or not, that's to be debated. But that was probably one of the things that I was surprised about, is that you're getting down there and you have some people who are acting that, ooh, look at me, I'm kind of bigger than life. And that was a little bit of a culture shock for her.
And it's one of those things that, when we were at the airport, we had one of the DJs that's like, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So they can go and act completely different than what they would in their normal setting, because of the fact that no one would know them. And in fact, Mr. Herman would do some dares with I'll give you $1 if you drive a training wheel bike across. One was jumping up on stage
with a lounge singer,
and singing with a gal. And of course, again, it's like I'm in Vegas, no one knows me. Now, I had done a wedding for a business owner in our local town, and I grew up in my small town, and so I know everybody. And their daughter got married, and it was at their home place right in town, or just on the edge of town. And I was a nervous wreck for that wedding because of the fact that I knew everybody, and there's always this little thing in the back of your head that says, don't screw up. If you screw up their wedding, the whole town's going to know, and you better be packing your suitcase and getting the heck out of here, because, your reputation would be down the drain. And again, I got there early, so I could kind of be involved with the crowd a little bit before the dance started, which was a huge thing. I'm one that needs that. I like to be around people, and I like to socialize. And once I get socializing, I'm okay. If I screw up, they know I'm human, and it's one of those things that it goes well. But I did a very good job at their wedding, and we had actually biked to town the next day, and one of the aunts to the bride rolled down her window and yelled, "Great job, Lori!" And I actually had that happen when I was at Little Falls Arts and Crafts. Now, this is really funny because my sisters and we would go to Little Falls. They have this huge arts and crafts. And there's probably, thousands of people. And we were going up over the bridge over the Mississippi River. And my mother-in-law, John's mom, was with even. And I don't remember where my show was on Saturday night, but someone recognized me when I was going over that bridge, and they yelled, they rolled the window down and said, "Great job." And it's like, oh my gosh. And they knew I was Lori. And it's like, it was kind of cool walking over the bridge and having all these people, but yet they recognized me from the night before. So they didn't run me over. So
let's see. We had a few things in the chat room. Reggie was asking Midwest DJ Convention. Well, we were the ones who did. There's Midwest DJs Live that happens over in Milwaukee, and they are still going. They will be going again, I believe, in March or April, maybe April. So I think Mobile Beats March. So they'll be doing that again. Will we do another show? That's been a question that's come up numerous times. If we're going to do another show, it's probably going to be an anniversary show, and we have to figure out which anniversary year that would be, and because we've talked about it, if we're going to have a really cool experience for everyone who's going to be attending. So when? Don't know, but that would be. It's not something that, truthfully, the behind the scenes of the business, there's not a ton of money to be made in that, so you can put a lot of time into it and not have much of any return, which is okay to a point, but you're not going to do it every year. So that'll be something we'll let you know, and because you've got to get the dates out now within this industry 2 years in advance, because there's so many different things that are planned, and when we plan something, people want to stay away from what we're doing because we do get a decent crowd up here. So there will be something at some point in time, most likely. Is that a good way to say it?
I think so.
Okay.
I see Little Falls, Wisconsin, or Little Falls, Minnesota. It was in Little Falls, Minnesota. They usually have a huge arts and crafts, and it's always the weekend after Labor Day. And it pretty much takes over the whole town. And
okay, just checking. Okay, so days and night, we're going to head that direction. You are ahead of us. So your last really, and it's been a couple of years since I think or was it last year that you've done a couple of schools, and then it's you've kind of drifted out of that area. Today, for those they're wondering what fills your calendar or fills your day. You have a few things.
Yes.
Besides driving me around, which a couple of you pointed out that you thanking her for driving me around, which has been a big part of her.
Yes, I'm the only driver in the house. So I have a 15-year-old, or we have a 15-year-old that's in the drama, and so he's got play, he's got prep band, or pep band, I should say. Michael's not into too much yet, thank goodness, but between having elementary kids, I've got a first grader, second grader, a fifth grader, I've got an eighth grader, and a sophomore. And the sophomore one keeps me running all the time, picking him up from robotics or different things. And then I have my 1-year-old, because my first grader, my first grader, who has reading homework all the time. So we do homework, and again, with John's eyesight, he's can't help a whole ton with homework, and so I'm kind of like the whole everything right now with the schooling, making sure the school assignments and things get done, and plus I run a local weekly newspaper, which takes a lot of time, and there's times that I don't know how I get that done sometimes. We had a week in there where we had appointments every day of the week, and running a weekly newspaper, if there was ever a time that I thought that a newspaper was not going to get to press, I thought it was that week, because John had to meet with the cataract specialist on Monday. Tuesday, we had to go back for measurements, and those were all in Alex, so they were an hour away from our office. Plus, I kind of messed up. I thought the kids had orthodontist in there too, so luckily John had one good eye, so he ended up going to the orthodontist a week early because I tried to be so organized. I was over-organized. And then, of course, with Wednesday, with this, got to get to press on Wednesday night, and then back is just, I don't know. The good Lord is always watching out for me, is what I look at it, because I felt very overwhelmed that Sunday, and then it's like one day at a time. You just take it one day at a time, and you just get through it. And I enjoy taking care of John. It's been a interesting few months with the eyes, and I don't think I drove him crazy yet, but he's had to get used to my driving.
Or I haven't driven you crazy yet. Although, Jimmy up there driving Mr. Crazy,
Just tell him that.
Somebody made the comment earlier about acting like Miss Daisy, driving with Miss Daisy. Still haven't watched that show.
The interesting thing, though, is we've had people come in, they volunteer, just like, well, if John needs help going to an appointment or something, just let me know. And it's like, well, wait a second, that really doesn't help me, because I need to know what drops he's getting and different things. So to have someone fill in for that doesn't quite work for that. Now it's like my kids, on the other hand, but they don't offer to, to help out with the kids.
I must be funny. Crap! I was going to go somewhere, and let's so let's go back to the your non-DJ career. What you were working at a local newspaper. You mentioned that earlier.
Correct.
And for those of you wondering, that was not the Hometown News, which Brian mentioned up above. You were working over there and working in the front desk. You started working with some aspects of the newspaper. When did you leave that and move to the Hometown News?
We started the Hometown News up May of 2000, and then pretty much from there, I kind of juggled both. And then I think it was in 2006, the newspaper that I was originally at, they were in the process of branching off and starting another new niche newspaper. And so I kind of funneled myself that direction, and I helped with the startup with that newspaper. And it took off very well. It's still going very well today. And that was all in around that 2000 timeframe, because that's when I started up our newspaper. And in 2006, they actually approached me because they needed a salesperson. Now, I did not do sales with the previous newspaper. I was front desk. I dealt with circulation. I dealt with newspaper carriers when they would show up, or I should say not show up. And Lori is out in the afternoon delivering the papers, to quit, those type of things that you pretty much picked up everybody's pieces that they didn't hold up on their end of the deal. So, and that's why with our current newspapers, I refuse to have newspaper carriers, because I know what it's like when, we don't want to do it anymore, and the papers are there and they're sitting and they need. So we just kind of take that on ourselves, because that was one of the it's a huge pain for their papers when they do that.
So 2006, you started helping with that, but you were still running the Hometown News.
Yep.
It's been running since 2001.
2000.
And it was about 2004. Is that when we started the Disc Jockey News? So basically, at some point in time, we started the Hometown News, and that was going and doing very well, and took that concept of that newspaper and their knowledge of the DJ world, and put those two together, and came up with the Hometown News. With the Disc Jockey News, and got that up and running, and things. The initial ones, we were sending 20,000 papers out a month or so.
It took us 2 truckloads from the printer to the post office, because we would go and unload and then go back and unload, and the post office wasn't too happy when we'd show up at 5:00, but we had to get them out of the printer's way because there was just too many of them.
Yeah, we were printing about 20,000 papers in those first few years. Mm-hmm. And oh goodness gracious, we had Lori needs a long vacation. Yes, when we're done with this, she definitely needs a long vacation. It's just when you have 6 children, though, that's kind of tough too. Is Lori going to Mobile Beat Las Vegas? that's something we're talking and trying to figure out. It's looking like, as far as my eyes are not going to be keeping us away from it, but we have got we've had somebody put a proposal in for us to go up to Canada to speak up in Canada, which is right ahead of Mobile Beat Las Vegas, and then we have to see, because we have our home commitments and different things. We have to keep the local paper, the hometown news has to. So we have to kind of juggle things out. If I'm going to be there, she will be there, because that's it's one of those things that I need to have a set of eyes, and I'm still not going to be 100%, even though I can safely travel. So I won't be going down there by myself. So we've got to figure out if we're going to be there. Right now, we're scheduled to go to NAM in January to cover NAM, and then we'll see where we are. Yeah, Brian. I think Brian's been with us since some of the early issues and such. He's probably got most of them. And if you don't, there's always the PDFs online. They're all right there. You can go and look at them all.
I have to chuckle though with the vacation stuff, because I can't get my husband to go on a vacation unless it's job related.
Well, we haven't flown to a vacation. We go camping and take some time off that way. But yeah, it's difficult to.
And it's hard because you have to work like a dog before you leave, and then when you get back, you've got to play catch up too. And it's like there's times it's actually more relaxing just to keep going day by day. But we need to do more day trips somewhere. Take
the day off. Shut down early and go out and sit in the front yard and watch the kids go play on the swing set. That works pretty well. Any other questions that you guys have? Otherwise, we thank you for being with us tonight. It was just kind of a chance to chat a little bit and let you guys get a chance to meet Lori. Many of you have met her at our Northern DJ conventions or in Las Vegas, and it's kind of a cool thing for those of you who haven't. But some of you are talking about her every once in a while. They talk about Lori, especially Brian has mentioned you a few times. So this is your chance to get to meet her just a little bit.
Yeah, I was a little shocked when John's like, "Do you want to be on the show Friday night?" And I'm like, "Me?" But I feel so out of the loop.
Take her on a DJ cruise. That's like water. Water's evil, Jimmy. This is from we live the lake's right over here. So.
Hello, Jimmy.
Yeah, good stuff.
See, I would consider a cruise going in the boat, tootling around the lake.
Yeah, so we've
That'd be
done
kind of
that.
fun.
We've done that.
Actually, Kix 92 just mentioned about sometimes you just need a Ferris Bueller day off. I have to share something with you. It was last year.
Yeah.
Last fall, we had to cover a National Hardware Show. So we were gone the whole week. National Hardware Show, and then we followed it up with hitting the LDI show.
The Green Industry Show.
The GIE show, yes. And so anyways, with having little kids in their home, and the older ones are old enough to watch over them, and my biggest thing is, can they get them on the bus on time? Because of the fact that we normally don't wake the kids up until 7:00, and they have to be on the bus at 6:50 when we're gone. So the kids really have to take up a big responsibility when we do leave. As a matter of fact, my 15-year-old was sharing the other day. He's like, "So are you guys going on any trips and covering any shows?" And it's like, "Well, I don't know. Dad's got the NAM planned." And his comment was, "Well, are you going too?" And of course, then the guilt kind of starts because of the fact that he claims that our 6 and 7-year-old don't listen to him that well, but he's in that teenage years where there's too much age difference, and he tries to be very like a drill sergeant, and it doesn't go over well with the little ones. So it makes it tougher on mom when we do leave, because I just don't know what's going to happen. But anyway, so we were gone on this trip, and we landed, I think it was like 8:30 in Arizona in the morning. And I put the camera on. John's like, "What are you doing?" It's like, "Well, I'm just going to check in on the house." We got these little site cam type cameras where we can kind of pan the house and such, just to make sure everything's good. It's still standing. Probably more so that it's still standing. But anyways, I turn it on, and here my first grader is sitting behind the computer right by the camera. And I'm like, "What is he doing home?" So I quick call home, and he answers really well. He's like, "Hi, this is Nicholas." And I'm like, "Nicholas, did you miss the bus?" "No, I wasn't feeling good today," he goes. And he goes, I kind of felt like I was going to have to throw up on the bus last night, and I just decided I better stay home today. And so, of course, my backup person, I think my mother, I don't remember what it was all going on. But anyways, so our 7-year-old spent the whole day home alone. Our oldest one was going to college at the time, but he was commuting back and forth. And my biggest fear that I was trying to get through to my 86-year-old mother, because she's like, oh, Nicholas will be fine. I was like, I know he will be fine. He's very independent. He will do fine, but he likes to cook. And my biggest fear is he would go and do his waffles or Pop-Tarts or whatever in the toaster, and we would not have a house to come home to. And so I call him, and it's like, Nicholas, you cannot use the microwave. You cannot use the toaster. Well, I know how to use those things, Mom. And I really had a hard time telling him that Mom and Dad are, I should say, to get it through to him, that Mom and Dad are gone, and those things are off limits, because there are times where his little brother had hot chocolate on the table, and he decided he was going to warm it up for him because it got cold. So he went and put it in the microwave, and luckily John happened to be around by his desk, and he heard them kind of talking. He's like, wonder about number 5. So they had put the hot chocolate in for 5 minutes. And when John thought he better go check it out and see what was going on, there was hot chocolate boiling over the cup, all over the plate of the microwave. So thank goodness that we were around, because someone could have gotten severely burnt. So those are some of the dilemmas that I have as a mom with leaving the kids behind when we go on trips.
And today he said he was feeling a little. Today is another Nicholas day off. He's thinking he was feeling, and as you had left and I had asked him, it's like, so Nicholas, were you really feeling sick, or did you just need a day off? Maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe I didn't want to get anyone else sick. Okay. So sometimes when you're in 2nd grade or last year 1st grade, sometimes you just need to have a day off.
But I was surprised with that, though, because last year when that happened, he was okay up until the point, I think probably after I made the phone call, because then he started to second guess staying home. And then when I would call and check on him, he's like, Mom, I'm hearing weird noises. And it's like, sometimes they need to have that it's not cool to stay home by yourself sometimes. But it was definitely, yeah. And of course, he's gotten into microwaving eggs now. So he learned how to make scrambled eggs. And tonight, of course, he had made Ethan supper. And it was the pancakes that I had extra pancakes. So I had decided to put them on a cookie sheet, and I froze them. Instead of buying pancakes frozen, I peeled them off, put them all in a bag. And he used that tonight as the first one in the toaster. And he's like, 6 is a little crunchy. I'm going to try 5 next time. So it was kind of cute. But he had made his little brother eggs and pancakes tonight for supper. Now he's telling me he's going to make me breakfast in bed tomorrow. And I said, no.
No. He's an early riser. Breakfast in bed, it'll be at 6:30 in the morning. That would be a bad thing. So, yes. Gang, thank you very much for being with us tonight and just hanging out and sharing and such in the chat room. It's really appreciate that. We'll be back. Jimmy and MJ and Dan will be back tomorrow night. They're going to be doing the music show. I'm actually going to be helping our oldest. They've got a fundraiser dance, so I'll be over there. So the guys are going to handle talking music and such. And I think MJ was going to be talking about mini sets of music. So they'll have some fun with that. And then Sunday night. Sunday night's going to be kind of a big show, because we've got Alan Berg coming in to kind of anchor the show off. And if you guys are wanting to learn about things to have and not have on your websites, now this is the marketing side of the website. Alan Berg is the man. He speaks nationally and internationally on this topic, and he'll be with us Sunday night for our show. And then who's in the second slot? I'm so bad. I'm not sure who comes in after Alan Berg does.
Brain fart.
Yeah, exactly. We're doing the brain fart now. Now you guys are gonna have to just bear with me for a second, because so tomorrow night's Alan Berg. Ken Day, there we go. Ken Day is and Ken Day's actually a good friend of mine who from San Diego, who does higher end events, and he's going to be talking about. So if you're into weddings, Sunday is going to be Sunday night. You're going to want to be with us for between Allenberg and Ken Day. You're going to learn some ideas and tips that are going to help you with your business and your weddings and such. So once again, thank you very much for being with us, Lori. Thanks for coming out.
Yes,
Oh,
actually, I saw in there one of the questions further up with the future show with had to do with John. It was scrolling down too much.
Yeah.
About sharing ideas so that your wives wouldn't think that they're abandoned wives, as long as they don't bash us. That is a really interesting topic because there's times that even though I've been married with John and I understand the DJ industry, there are times, especially when he's going on trips all the time, that it does get hard. And I don't know how to address that or what, but it does get to be hard, especially if you have children, because it seems like it gets to be a real big load on the wife. And so that could be definitely a future show.
Yeah,
maybe.
definitely a topic. We could get some things put together for that. We can do it.
That sounds great.
See what it okay. Sunday night is the EV speakers, and then Monday is JBL. Tomorrow is the NS2. Tonight was the iPad Mini, or NV2, NS2. NV2 from Newmarket tomorrow night. We have the speakers Sunday night with EV, and Monday night's JBL. So, once again, thank you guys. We will catch you. The guys will see you tomorrow night, and I'll see you Sunday night. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.